record permission. I was going to see it.
Oh, okay, it's recording. I started recording.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, we can decide what to do with it later. I mean, yeah, part of my issue is I don't actually know what he said. I think I started watching it on my own and never got past or got too far into it, and then the next day it like blew up, and there were a lot of assumptions on what he said, but the reporters were not saying what he said. They just like called them, anti-Semitic comments. But then when Sam was on today, we kind of read through some of the things that he said, but then, Ish seemed to find I kind of logged on to, I kind of Googled what he said and saw some of the things that he said, but Ish seemed to find a little bit more.
More what? Offensive or?
No, just more stuff, just more that he said.
Oh, more stuff that he said?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Was it when you say anti-Semitic, was it the normal comments of Jews or
Well, that's the problem is they wouldn't
have money or
they wouldn't write what he said. So then when we found it, so first the stuff that I saw was stuff that I knew that he said, just to give you a heads up, if Ish comes in here, Ish's idea was to not have this conversation unless we have a Jewish person around to speak on their perspective.
So since Sam left, we have to change the topic when Ish shows up.
Well, maybe, yeah, maybe. He actually asked if you were Jewish, which I don't know where he got that from, but.
Here's the funny thing. I think my family was in Europe before before they came here, but not since they came to America. I think they were Jewish in Germany, back culturally, but gave it up when they immigrated.
Okay. Culturally, you mean not even just religiously, but culturally?
Yeah, I think there's drops here and there, Jewish lineage, but my family has always been as far as religious practicing, we can only really tell as far back as since they've been in America, which was 1850, and they've been Christian since then.
Oh, I see.
So I'm not. Yeah.
So how do you know what they were doing in Europe?
I mean, we don't for positive. It's more of a suspicion than anything, okay. But simply because for example, but simply because I had, well, before Misha, obviously I had a Jewish sounding last name, and most people with our name were Jewish.
Okay.
Now you can't tell anything because all you can tell from me is what Misha's family had. But that's kind of funny though that that Ish asked if I was Jewish.
Yeah, I don't know where. I don't know if you remember the conversation or what.
I mean, maybe, or I could fit the stereotype. I don't know. Maybe we'll ask him. He's in the waiting room.
Hey, what's up, man?
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. Issue's still on.
He's on mute.
Yeah, he's on mute.
You can't hear me?
Now we can hear you.
Yeah, you're good now.
I should be seen and not heard anyway.
KD's supposed to be back in like 5 to 8 minutes.
Oh, he was on?
Yeah, no, he's still
technically here. He said he was taking a walk or something.
I thought he said he was driving.
I don't know. Whatever language he used was traveling.
I mean, quite frankly, I heard so I don't know.
Say what?
Like, I heard I'm when he said what he was doing.
Yeah, it sounded like
sounded like the adults from Peanuts.
Yeah, it sounded like some kind of form of moving somewhere.
So how am I on ghost mode and Ish isn't? What's up with the world?
Oh, 2020.
I even got a compliment today, and I'm flattered by it.
A compliment? Who gave you a
Yes.
compliment?
Sam.
Oh, what did he say? Oh, I finally got to see you.
He called me handsome.
Oh. Well, there you go.
I blushed.
Yeah, no, it was just terrible, Ronald McDonald.
The compliment was terrible? I don't think so.
No, I'm talking about myself being on ghost mode. It was just terrible. Ronald McDonald and Marge Simpson both called to ask for their hair back.
That light is so... Sorry.
With the light in the back of you?
Yeah, I'm in my comic book room.
Okay.
Doing comic book stuff. So I need to be hands-free, and I have my phone on a stand.
Right.
Actually, I lied. My hair wasn't that bad.
Comic book stuff.
I wanted to see how long I could go by telling you that my hair turned into a big hot mess, and that's why I was on ghost mode.
It looks good.
Icon is
you can actually see that?
I actually didn't color it, but I
what color is what color are you rocking? Is that purple? Static.
I cut it. I don't need no hairdresser. I'm just gonna cut my own hair.
Word.
I don't need no barber, no pandemic. I'm gonna give myself a pandemic haircut.
Oh yeah, the barbers are definitely back open, or at least one is on the way to right near the grocery store.
They're
gonna open for a month.
Funny thing happened on the way to the grocery store.
Yeah, they're out there chilling on the sidewalk, and barbershop's open.
Well, the barbershop was open even before it was supposed to be open here, so.
I am Submariner.
Yeah, they struck me as
Dear
the
me.
kind of places that would just do what they wanted to, That was my general
general
assessment.
Of the situation.
Yeah. So I had someone.
Are you Jewish?
No, it was crazy.
Are you Jewish, Emily?
Coming back.
Emily, are you
just
Jewish?
having that conversation. You can't hear me?
Are you Jewish?
No, no.
I was just curious.
I was telling. No, I'm not mad. I was just telling Flav about how we're just laughing because I was just telling Flav about how we think that my family was Jewish, my ancestors, but ever since anyone got to America, they stopped.
They stopped what?
They converted to Christianity.
So,
yeah, this is an interesting conversation.
So not Jewish by ethnicity, but Jewish by religious beliefs?
No, we were like, everybody's been Christian by religious beliefs, like, since my family came over to this country, like, whatever, like 170 bajillion years ago.
Do you know where they came from?
Germany.
Okay.
Right. So this is what we didn't really get into, or I thought we had already gotten into. I thought you said, like, culturally that they were, but they kind of like turned away from it. And I thought you were kind of hinting at just to like get away from any discrimination or something. But I mean, because like religion's like a different thing. Like you can convert from a religion, but you can't really convert from your ethnic background.
I mean, yeah, no, like we literally, like, we don't know for sure because nobody kept real good records. Like, we just suspect that my family might have been Jewish back in Germany and then converted.
You mean
when they got here?
Okay, so you're not
Jewish.
Oh, okay, but okay, so it's not a conversion then. It's not. You can't convert like ethnically. You're talking about both religion and ethnicity.
Yes.
Okay.
Bottom line is basically we suspect, but we don't know for sure.
Okay, because it's just confusing because that's like those are like two different conversations, right? Like there's like having the background, like like where like your mother is Jewish, so you can draw the lineation, and then there's what religion you practice. I mean, a lot of Jews like don't even practice any religion, but they're still Jewish.
Exhibit A, Bernie Sanders.
Yeah.
Who?
Bernie Sanders.
Who's that?
I don't think I even have a response for that.
Yeah, she's not biting. She's not biting.
Is he looking anything like this?
We can't see. You got the light behind you.
All I see is a light.
Yeah, now we can see.
Yeah, that guy. He looks kind of like Larry David,
Talk Bernie to me.
So, is that what we're taking this now?
AOC even makes an appearance in this issue.
Yeah, I saw that at the bottom there. The AOC, what does it say? AOC surprise?
AOC surprise.
Bonus.
AOC inside. I wish I had that AOC Wonder Woman comic book.
Oh, that actually exists? I just pulled that out of my ass.
Yeah, it's like $2,000 book.
So, in other words, worth an entire paycheck of mine. Good to know.
Yeah, you can find people selling them if they catch them on eBay for under $1,000, but the going rate is $1,500 to $2,000.
So there you go. Like I get paid one AOC book every other 2 weeks to deal with bullshit.
I want one. I definitely want that AOC Wonder Woman cover. It got recalled by DC.
Oh, really?
Yeah, DC was mad about it.
Interesting.
Well, yeah, the company that put out that book is in DC. So when they put AOC on the cover in Wonder Woman garb, DC got mad.
Okay, that makes sense. So that makes it worth even more then?
Yeah, because it's rare.
Yeah. All right.
Well, besides like DC Comics is a corporate conglomerate and AOC is like the least corporate possible.
Well, I mean, she's part of the biggest corporation in America.
The government? Yeah. But I mean, like, as far as government representatives, like, she's the most anti-private, one of the most anti-private entity.
Except she's part of the biggest corporation in America.
You mean the one that always fucks everything up?
Yeah, she's part of that corporation. I mean, she's a part of it.
I mean, that is true. But she also is less removed from not being a part of it than most people who are a part of it.
I mean, it's easy for the handcuff manufacturer to say I'm against handcuffs.
Well, okay, so
I'm the most anti-handcuff person in America.
so let's say, I mean,
Are you implying that I manufacture handcuffs? What are you doing here?
so let's say that America moves and we're totally socialist tomorrow. Do you still have this same argument of ALC-ish based on that?
What argument am I making of ALC? She's my mistress.
That
that she's part of the most corrupt corporation. Like,
well, he didn't say corrupt.
That was my paraphrase. Apologies. The biggest corporation.
That's what I said. She is
that you can't be anti-private interest if you're part of the biggest corporation. But let's say it moves to a what would we call that, a publicly owned entity. So it's no longer like a corporation as we view most corporations, but it's like totally like publicly owned. Then is she allowed to like be anti-corporation, or is that still like the handcuff manufacturer?
Well, if it's publicly owned, right? Isn't it still? Is it what makes it a corporation? Has shareholders or something?
Some legal. No, not necessarily.
That's what I'm asking.
No, if it has
shareholders.
If it has shareholders, makes it a corporation.
But if it doesn't have shareholders, does it make it less corporate?
Right. That's a good question. And,
well, corporate is kind of like defined by like how they operate, and if by like corporate you mean like as a monopoly, then yes, government is the biggest corporation because government dictates a lot of things and in turn fuck up a lot of things.
Well, government dictates what is and isn't a monopoly.
We're throwing in a lot of different language in there. I mean,
well, that's because you're trying to streamline a conversation, and we're just kind of throwing stuff out there.
Right.
But that's fine. Streamline away. I'm down.
Well, no, I'm
Continue,
just trying to,
Mr. Moderator.
Well, no, I wouldn't call it streamline. I guess I'm just like, I'm trying to see what I feel about this characterization of AOC, being that she's a representative of the people and works in Washington, D.C.
For the biggest corporation in America.
Well, it's not though. It's
well,
not.
It is.
The government is not a corporation.
Sure, it is. It even has its own way of collecting funds through what is called the IRS.
Here's the point. The government shouldn't be a corporation, but at this point in time, it's operating in the same fashion as a corporation.
It certainly operates in the fashion of a corporation with the CEO and all of that.
Yeah, I mean, now we're just being loose with our language.
Well, no.
Right, like
we're not being loose with our language. We're being tight with our comparisons.
No, the government is not a corporation.
Okay. You're right.
But
capitalism doesn't exist.
Okay. You know exactly what you're doing.
Right.
You're doing it very well.
It may not specifically be a corporation, but it's beholden to corporate entities.
Okay, so that by your very argument, it can't be a corporation.
So what type of business is government?
Wait, I just want to address what she said.
Okay.
If you're a corporation, how can you be beholden to other corporations? That doesn't make any sense.
Well,
many corporations are.
Really?
Many corporations are, and like the government is kind of like corporations at this point now like are big conglomerates. Like think about Instagram, Facebook, all owned by the same company. Like, you know, Kraft macaroni and cheese owned by the same people that make cigarettes. Like, corporations are conglomerates, and the government basically serves the interests of all of them combined. So like the government is like the biggest corporation conglomerate there is.
I mean, you pay taxes.
No, that's a very loose. That's a very loose way of like describing the situation.
So the government, in often cases, they use the term the business of government, and that term can be applied to in a bunch of different situations. But at the end of the day, when you have accountants, and I'm not saying that, you know, corporations, because you have accountants, you're a corporation. What I'm saying is when you have a way of accounting for things, and on the most basic level of capitalism, right? One of the most basic principles is if I provide you a good or a service, the government gets its cut. Because me and you carried out that transaction in America on this piece of land for no other reason. None whatsoever. It's the brokerage fee, it's the
sales tax,
it's the, and all of
your
this.
Average corporation would love to operate that way.
Yeah, I know, but the government is the biggest. The government is the biggest corporation. They're not your average corporation.
But they're not a corporation at all, because
okay.
The difference is
they're the biggest business.
The difference is, it's not really a business, because we're forced to pay them. You're not forced. You're not forced to like
go to
give
Starbucks.
McDonald's your business.
Yeah, but that's like saying slavery wasn't a business because the slaves were forced. It's still a business. It was a lucrative business.
No. Wait. You're comparing the government to a corporation. A corporation is like, you know, a bunch of people who decide to get together.
like you said, we were throwing terms around. Say again?
Well, a corporation is like a bunch of people get together and decide to like make this entity that provides goods or services, and people can decide to frequent their business or corporation, and they can make money that way. The government is like, you pay from like day one. You have like no choice.
Yeah, because they have a monopoly on it.
Well, that's definitely an interesting way of looking at it.
The goods and services are life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, freedom.
I mean, you do have a choice. You can move.
You could what? You could what?
Move. Like, hypothetically, if you don't want to use the services of the American government, hypothetically, then you move to another country.
You can't.
Yeah, but with a corporation, you don't have to do all that, though.
Yeah, because
not necessarily true. Not necessarily.
Well, this corporation
true.
has a monopoly. You can't create a new government.
Okay.
You can't secede from.
Let me say this differently then. Okay, you're making a good point, but with most monopolies, you don't get in trouble for not paying, right? Like you just by simply existing or just by simply working, you have to throw money to the government. You don't have to do that for electricity and you know, for like water and all that stuff. It's going to be hard to survive without it, but they don't just start taking money out of your check.
Like, you still have to sign up for the service, is what you're saying?
Yeah, but because these corporations these corporations that you're talking about have to throw money to the government. Right. So by virtue of that, well, the electric company, like, they have to throw money towards the bigger business. In order to do business, we got a monopoly on this, and we're only going to let you do it if you pay us. We need our cut.
Right. That's not a corporation. That's a government.
Okay. Yeah, but a government is a business.
Well, and it's kind of like the same thing, though. Like,
it is worried about making profit. I don't know what part of the economic game involves making profit that isn't on some level considered a business.
Well, I mean, the government can lock you up. The government can
we're not talking about all the
kill
other
you.
things that they can do as a
Why
result of
not?
them being the biggest business.
Why not?
Because these are just, but
That's
that doesn't
not a
take.
risk. But because
Hold
that's
on.
not,
Hold on, but you're saying you're using these things to allude to the notion that they're not a business because they can do these other things.
right. Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that they're not a business because they have more power than what you know businesses to have. Doesn't make them any less of a business.
I mean, you've like expanded this term.
Well,
to,
a square is a rectangle, and a rectangle isn't always a square.
Right. There's gray areas. Like, why would they have accounting?
I mean,
accounting?
okay. I mean, we could do this. We could play word games all day. That
We're
doesn't
not
mean,
though. We're not playing.
No,
word games.
we are. We literally are. A square is a rectangle, and a rectangle.
I didn't say
is
that.
Not always a square.
I said a government is a business, and you said because this business can do all these other things.
I didn't say because. I was making an example. I never said
no.
because.
You didn't say because. Hold on. You didn't say because. I said it, and you agreed. So thus, you said because. You know what I mean? Like you did agree. So because of that, you're saying that these things make it not a business. You're not to take into account that they have accountants, that they seek to profit. Like you're not
so
these things into account.
You're taking one example of one thing that they do, which is this economic thing, and you're saying this one thing that they do makes it a corporation, and I'm naming 100 things that they do that make it not a corporation.
No. But I don't think that those things make it not a corporation. Things that they do that other corporations don't do. I just don't think those things make it not a corporation.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. You don't think that those things take into account whether or not it's a corporation. And what I'm saying is you're showing one small thing that they do, which is the economy, and you're saying the fact that they do that makes them a corporation, but I'm showing
makes them a business.
Makes them okay. I mean, we said corporation in the beginning, but now it's business. That's fine. So I can show you 100 things that they do that other corporations don't do, but those things have no effect on whether or not it's a business or a corporation.
But most of what the government does is somehow linked to business. I mean,
business.
Education, incarceration is linked to business with the private prison system.
Now, the private prison system is an ugly facet of business that is highly contested, but that's not the basis. That's not the basis of what makes something a business.
But Mike, so here's my confusion. Here's what I don't get. I've given you what makes them synonymous with the business. You've given examples that other businesses don't do in order to say that they're not a business. And that's where I'm confused. Just because they do more things or other things that other business cannot do or do not have the power to do, how do we conclude that they're any less of a business?
You're saying that I'm using the fallacy of the contrapositive? Is that what you're saying?
I don't even know what that is. If that's, I mean, I don't know what that is. I never heard of that. This is new. That's a brand new term to me.
It's from logic class.
Okay.
Someone paid attention in math.
Yeah. It wasn't my favorite subject, but they forced me to go for several hours a day, so I went.
It wasn't my favorite subject, but it was my best subject.
Some of it got through.
Wasn't my favorite subject, but was my best.
So y'all all know that AOC is my people's.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, why are we fighting over AOC? We should never fight over AOC.
Well, I mean, I'm gonna fight over her if it comes down. Never mind. We're on the air.
Keep your personal opinions to yourself, man.
We're on that ish.
Tell me later.
I did see her dancing on top of a building.
Was this real life or?
Yeah. She reenacted some of the scenes from The Breakfast Club while she was in college on top of her school's building with some other students.
Oh, okay.
They
I
cut
think
a
I
whole
heard
video.
about. I heard about that video. I didn't realize it was on top of the building.
Yeah.
This was a video back in the day or a recent video?
When she was in college.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah.
It's on
I did hear
YouTube.
about that.
I suggest you watch it.
No, I heard about it.
You should watch it. Hearing about it isn't enough.
Okay, I'll check it out.
It doesn't do it justice. Definitely watch that video. Am I overstepping some boundaries here, Emily? Please let me know.
What boundaries?
Okay, good. I just,
What, are you
No.
saying that you have to keep it kosher in front of the women?
of the world, not just on the YouTube channel.
But yeah, why? What did you say?
Women being myself, being a woman.
Right.
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 What did you say that was untoward?
I didn't say anything that was untoward, but I definitely could be deemed as
There was an
sexist.
implication there.
Really?
Yeah.
You must have missed it. Say it again.
I'll tell you when you're older.
Okay.
We live in a sensitive world, and I mean sensitive across the boards, not
Mhm.
just sensitive, just across the boards. Everybody's hypersensitive right now.
No, my thing is just more like, dude, AOC is a baby. Like, that's like, come
She's
on.
not a baby.
Come on, she was like 4. You were a teenager when she was born. She's a baby.
She's in the Congress. She governs people.
I'm joking. I think she's the same age as Cynthia.
I think she's younger.
Really? Well,
No.
They're the same age.
All I know is she's going to be old enough to be president in 2024.
Because she's the same age as AOC is the same age as my brother, and Cynthia is also the same age as my brother. Therefore, they're the same age as each other.
Logically, that does compute.
Didn't Minister Elijah Muhammad say, as long as she's half your age plus 7?
Something like that.
Yeah. Half your age plus 7 years is acceptable. Isn't that what he said to Denzel in that movie?
Something
He may
like
have said that, but that's not the way he was rolling.
I mean, so what it said. I'm going to be careful about that because, those NOI people really get mad about that. And you live in New York. And I mean, they get mad. Like they start looking for you. You know what I mean? Like they get mad.
I mean, I thought this was all admitted and known.
No,
they already had,
there are still people
I thought they already had answers to that. Like so.
Listen, I've watched people do YouTube videos and say the wrong things about like Malcolm X and then come back on and be like, yo, I got NOI people calling me up, threatening me, blah, blah, blah.
Well,
not that I'm scared, because I'm not.
You're just making a point.
I'm just making a point. Yeah, I don't care. Nobody is going to change the way the wind blows in my life without me, meeting it in good measure. So there's that.
Well, besides like the content, but like the whole like half your age plus 7 years is something that's like common knowledge now. Like it's not like just coming from Elijah Muhammad.
Oh
yeah, but I don't know if people actually adhere to that. I mean, it's a pretty old school thing. Hey, what's up, Sam?
I don't even think it matters.
Yeah.
I think a legal adult is a legal adult. I don't care what people's ages are. As long as you're not some kid.
Well, or as long as like one person isn't in like a position of authority over another. Because like, for example, like I wouldn't be like dating my 18-year-old students, even though they are legal adults.
I understand that, but I can't say, are you saying you wouldn't date an 18-year-old? I mean, I wouldn't, but I always dated older than me anyway. But I don't think that, I'm asking you, are you saying that you wouldn't date an 18-year-old or 19, or so let's say 20, because that's
probably not. Just because like probably not, just because like I'm in a different place in my
Sam,
life.
you're on mute, just so
But
you
it
know.
wouldn't be.
Thank
But
you.
Sure.
I would not at this point in my life.
it wouldn't be illegal.
I wouldn't
but-
either. I couldn't imagine it at all. Even when I was in my 30s, even when I was in my 20s, actually. I just couldn't imagine it. But not that I think that there's anything wrong with dating someone who's a legal adult. I could never date a teenager as an adult. I don't care what teen you were. 19, 18, you know what I mean? Couldn't do it.
So that's what I mean. Like, it's like, you know, even if I had like something for like 18-year-old boys, it still would not be prudent to like date my 18-year-old male students.
Well, I didn't, that's why I specifically said not a student.
Yeah. No, I mean, I was just saying, like, you know, other than that, I feel like, you know, it's legal. It's not something that I would choose to do, but it's not something that, like, I would have a fit about either. If someone else wanted to do it, I'd be like, to each their own.
Yeah, I can't even imagine that I'd be interested in women in their 20s.
Well, that's a little different. Like, you've got a little different situation there too. It's, and like, you know, women in their 20s are like your daughter's age. Like,
Right.
That's a whole nother dimension there.
Not to mention, to me, I've always been of the frame of mind like that women in their 20s, if they look good, they look better in their 30s.
Oh, thank you for the compliment.
I mean, that's just what it is, you know, to me. Like, there's something about experience in life, age, that takes, you know, what people consider to be pretty and just adds to it, to me.
Oh, hey, switching gears while we have Sam back with us, because we kind of, we kind of cut away from the conversation, and now he's back.
The
So
Nick
welcome
Cannon
back.
thing.
Welcome back.
Oh yes, because I
Sam.
have no opinions about anything other than Jewish stuff.
Yeah, sorry. We wanted to get to a.
Who'd have thought we meet you right back where we need you?
Yeah,
Welcome
we did
back,
want to
welcome
at
back,
least be able
welcome back.
to complete the conversation. I don't know if complete's the right word, but to at least have have another point on there. So I think the last thing we spoke about was we actually read some of the stuff that Nick said, and there was kind of a lot to it, right? And we were like talking about like, I mean, I actually didn't even really know what he had said because all the reporters, they weren't saying what he said. They just kept saying that he said this.
Well, I just kind of felt like
stuff, so.
I watched the video. I felt like I had a responsibility to watch the video. I watched the video the other day.
I'm glad you did. I'm glad you did.
Yeah.
I'm glad you did, Ish, because I did not really fully know. I wasn't aware. I wasn't fully aware of like the depths of what was said. So yeah.
So you watched the video. So the conspiracy stuff that he was getting into, I know he mentioned the Rothschilds. I saw it in one of the articles that I looked at online. Was he insinuating that Jews like run the media and
Yes.
entertainment and stuff like that?
Yes.
And was that based on agreeing with Professor Griff, or did he just like?
Well, so how the conversation played out, it was based on what he detailed as his own experiences, but the way the conversation played out, and this is my interpretation, because uncharacteristically, Professor Griff was quiet.
Okay.
It was kind of like Professor Griff was the host and Nick Cannon was the moderator, and you could tell he was trying to be very delicate with the way that he spoke.
Who,
and
Professor Griff was?
No, Nick Cannon was.
Oh, okay.
So Nick Cannon would speak, and Professor Griff would just kind of shake his head and be like, or don't be afraid. You know what I'm saying? Say it like that. You know, that's what Professor Griff would offer.
Right.
Say again.
He was like, "Speak your truth."
Yeah, pretty much. That's literally what he said.
Okay.
And Nick was very. You could tell he was very hesitant and foot in mouthish with a lot of the things that he was saying. Like, you could tell.
So
you know what I mean?
It was almost like he was being encouraged to.
So if you want to know what I felt like,
yeah,
I felt like Nick Cannon was trying to floss for Professor Griff, like trying to impress him with his knowledge of, ethnocentrism and his, his position on that, because we all know where Professor Griff stands. You know what I mean?
And it failed miserably.
That's kind of what I felt like. Like he felt like, at least in this interview, he was in the room with somebody bigger than him.
Right. Someone who, okay. Right. Okay. Sure. So one thing that I thought that was interesting about those comments from what I heard you read, and I think some of what I had pulled up, but you pulled up, like, you mentioned way more stuff than I actually found, was a lot of the stuff he was talking about was white people, right? He tangled a lot of white people talk in that conversation. Right, he started talking about the melanin and what was the other stuff he was talking about? Because you don't have the melanin to protect you, you got to take resources from other folks and all this stuff, right? I feel like that definitely made it worse, right? Because it's not like that stuff was like separated from what else he said. I kind of feel like it was all kind of like, thrown into the same conversation, and it made it worse. I mean, I don't condone anti-Semitism, but I'm not going to like fault Nick Cannon for trying to figure out like the difference between like where black folks and white folks come from historically. Like, even if he's still figuring it out and he's not, like you used the word pseudo. I mean, even if some of this information is not being quoted correctly or sourced correctly, like that's not as bad as being an anti-Semite. That's just like saying like, okay, like white people hardly have any melanin, black people do. Black people were more, yeah.
I don't mean to cut you off.
But what do we have to be protected from?
Emily,
Sorry.
I need to say this. Flavia, I didn't mean to cut you off. However, you do realize that you just pulled the "I'm not a racist" but line, right?
How so?
You said, I in no way endorse anti-Semitism, but. I'm just saying. Just want to draw your attention to that.
Well, I'm talking about white people. Like, I don't endorse anti-Semitism, like in any way, shape, or form.
But then you kind of went on to defend Nick Cannon a little bit.
No, I mean, what I'm trying to tell you is I'm trying to draw a distinct line between like talking about white people and like saying anti-Semitic type shit, right? Like there's a difference. That's what I'm saying. I mean, I don't know.
So let me just introduce into the conversation that when it comes to the difference, there's a difference up until somebody is offended. And that goes for all cultures. At least that's my opinion. And I'm not saying that you're doing a thing or not at all. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that we have to be cognizant that the difference, it's okay to acknowledge the difference up until the point where someone is offended, where someone feels a certain way, because we can't tell, like a white person can't tell me what I shouldn't be offended by any more than I can tell someone who's of the Jewish community what they should or shouldn't be offended by, or someone who's Hispanic or someone who's white.
Thank you, Ish.
Yeah, no, I totally get that, and I apologize if I offended you, Sam. I mean, I think,
It's not that you have, I mean, yeah, it's more along the lines of like, I'm specifically, I'm trying to like, I mean, I got upset a little bit. Yeah, I got upset, but it's also along the lines of like, just trying to show you like of what territory you're veering into. And, you've called me out on it before when I've stepped in it too, like on Facebook. So I felt comfortable enough to say like, listen, you just said this. So I just wanted to point it out to you.
no, that's fair. I mean, I respect that, and like I said, I draw a line between like any like anti-Semitic type stuff and trying to like figure out the difference between black people and white people. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think that noticing the differences between black people and white people is like the same thing. It's not like,
no,
it's not necessarily negative. And, I don't say that to defend Nick Cannon. I think these conversations are difficult because, like, as black people, the conversations that we have about race are always going to be different. Because, like, when we're talking about white people, it's not from a position of power. It just, like, it isn't. Whereas, like, we should never, like, you said some, like, deep things about Jewish people and black people, how we've, like, backed each other up, and, like, the percentage of Jewish folks who have been civil rights lawyers and stuff like that. And, like, that stuff is real. And, like, I mean, even as organizers, I think we know the deep vested interest that Jewish folks have had in the civil rights movement. And, like, even to this day, like, the deep roots that we have with each other.
In this country, whenever white people get really angry, they always come out for two groups. It's all, and you know who it is. It's the Jews and the blacks. It's always mentioned together. Like, it's historically, it just has been.
So that is like, so what I'm trying to do is, like,
and I don't think that you're anti-Semitic either. I wanted to just, establish that.
I want to put something on the table too, just so we all have a clear understanding of where everyone is coming from. So you both touched on something, and about, the alliance that, be it by choice or on some levels by circumstance, that black people and Jewish people have. And so there's two things I want to put on the table. One, it becomes a very difficult conversation, especially amongst black people and Jewish people, because, well, there's a political division, because Jewish issues tend to be conservative talking points, and black people tend to be, not saying that that's the case, but it's, you kind of touched on it earlier, where,
it didn't used to be the case, but it is now for some reason.
Right. So that kind of puts a division. And then the second thing, which I kind of want to touch on with what, Flav said, is that because in a lot of situations, so there are a lot of closed door conversations about race that black people have that, white people just aren't privy to.
No, it's true.
Right. And so, and with that, some things are said or some things are discussed, or, some ideas are put forth that can be radical, or certainly are radical, not can be, so in many cases are radical. But, Flav said something that is kind of important too, is that, and I've never really looked at it from a Jewish perspective, but from a black perspective, he's right when he says that we're normally not having these conversations from positions of power. So then our perspective is kind of skewed by, historic, a historic impression of and it in many cases one-sided, but in a historic impression of or a worldview from a black perspective, which in many cases is one-sided because of a historic impression. You understand what I'm saying? So these conversations, in a lot of cases, can be difficult, and I just want to kind of throw that out there too. You know what I mean? We say things, or I've been privy to conversations and ideas and concepts that I know, had they taken place in an open forum, would offend a lot of people.
Mm-hmm. And that's okay. And listen, Ish, thank you, and Flavie, thank you. And absolutely, and I completely agree with you that that amongst Black people, when these conversations are had, they're not coming from positions of power. Like, you're right. I'm not saying that I'm not saying that that's not the case.
Sorry to cut you off earlier, Sam.
That's okay, Emily. That's okay. And Flavie's not anti-Semitic, and I would never insinuate that he was. I don't think that he is. My point was just to draw attention to the fact that he started that whole line of thinking, like, I was just trying to draw a parallel, like, where people say, I'm not a racist, but, and then Flavie said, and then Flavie, you said, I would never condone anti-Semitism. But then you went on to basically kind of say that you think Nick Cannon should kind of have the freedom to like learn and kind of figure out that space for where that is. And I know he was talking about white people, but he also said stuff about the Rothschilds and Jews agreeing that Jews controlled the media. And like,
yeah, that's fine.
That's fine. But
no, first of all, that's not fine. Wait, first of all, Sam, that's not fine, and that's not what I said.
Okay.
And if I came off the wrong way, that's my fault.
Okay.
Some of this we started to talk about at one point.
And admittedly, I'm coming in the middle of this, so.
Okay, so here's what I'm saying. He should have space to talk about white people. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Not he should have space to talk about Jewish people. I would never say that. I'm saying even if the stuff he says about white people has some ignorance to it, as he's like trying to learn how to say it, talking about melanin and talking about why certain groups have done what they've done, as far as like, being like colonizers and stuff like that. I'm talking about white people. That's why I started the conversation that we should distinguish any of the conversation he had about white people and any of the conversations that he had about Jewish folks. I do not capitulate or bend or try to make any excuses for any Semitic stuff. So that was my point there.
Okay.
But I mean, feel free to like call me out on whatever you think.
Well, thank you.
Is being said.
Thank you. I do not mean. Thank you. Well, if I misheard that, I'm sorry too. Emotions about this topic tend to be high. And I certainly did. And I don't mean to represent you or misspeak for you, but whether or not he was talking about Jewish people or not, and I certainly agree that people should have the space to figure out their relationship with certain topics, certainly in private. But when you're going into a public forum, he was saying things like people without people who don't have melanin are inferior people. Or he's like, people with melanin are superior people. The fact that he was talking about white people, yes, he's coming from a position of less power, but I still don't like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I understand he's coming from a position from a lack of power historically, but there's still, what he said is still, it's extremely prejudiced. And that's, if that's his opinion, he's entitled to it, but he can say that in a public forum if he wants to, but that doesn't mean that he is in any way entitled not to get pushback for that.
No,
there's going to be consequences. Like, people are allowed to have opinions, but sometimes opinions have consequences. But here's what I
look at J.K. Rowling. J.K. Rowling can say anything that she wants, but you know what? Now if some of the things that she's saying are finding horribly offensive, people are like publicly denouncing her and shaming her. And
it's interesting because Joey and I just recently on a show that Flavius fell asleep on and lost the show.
oh, Jesus.
We took
Don't
different
follow him out
sides
like
on
that.
that specific issue. We both took different sides on that specific issue, and it wasn't that I agreed with her.
Mm.
It was kind of, and it wasn't a similar sentiment to what Flav is expressing, because I've been admonished by Flav. I'm more liberal in what I am willing to allow people to do for the purposes of dialogue and learning and understanding and moving forward. I'm just more liberal and what I think people should be allowed to do. And Flav has admonished me recently, you know, on air. We kind of got into it over, you know, the Chick-fil-A situation, and we you know, in one of our earlier shows we kind of got into it because I literally said to him, you know, I gave him a scenario where, you know, you remember Flav, where you got kind of turned up when I was talking about, you know, the white person calling, you know, somebody a nigger and but acting differently, and you remember that show, Flav? And he kind of turned up. So I personally, my own politics, I am willing. You know, I'm the type of person that says, I don't care what you believe. I don't care if you hate me, as long as your beliefs don't impede my abilities or my rights in this country.
I agree with
You understand what I'm saying? So for me, I take it a step, but I hear both of what you're saying, and I think it's interesting because, you know, me and Joey took different sides on the J.K. Rowling issue. I totally see and side with your perspective on, which is interesting for me, on the Nick Cannon issue, and not because I agree with what Nick Cannon said, because I don't. Right. By any means.
But I also, yeah, well, thank you for saying that, because I totally think that Nick Cannon has the right to say that. I would never tell him or Flavy or anybody, like, I would never say you can't say that.
Well, see, I just wonder at what point, right? And I feel this way, as a Black person concerning my own culture first and foremost. I wonder at what point, and I've said things like, you know, I don't want to get to a point in my search for justice where I become an oppressor.
Flavy,
so I wonder.
What's that? Oh, nice. I thought you were gonna say you found the J.K. Rowling episode. I was gonna say, how'd you do that?
I wonder at which point Black people or other marginalized groups can get to a point where we can have dialogue, where we can use words and explore topics, where we can have enough trust in other groups that we can actually have certain types of dialogue for the purposes of just progressing and growing and being able to move forward and, you know, really understanding each other. You know, I often said, I say to a friend of mine who will ask me questions, and I give him leeway to do so, right? He'll call me up and he'll ask me questions that he could never ask another Black person.
Wow.
And the reason why, and I'll ask him questions about, you know, his culture and, you know, Italian people. I'll ask questions that would offend other people. But the thing is, we know each other for our whole life. We love each other. We do business together. We're very close. And, you know, I've often said to him, the reason why I allow you to ask certain questions and say certain things, one, because I believe you're being genuine. But two, because if I don't allow you to put everything on the table, then how do you grow and learn and really understand? If you ask me a question and I get offended by the question, then I kind of freeze you out before we even have the dialogue. You see what I'm saying?
Can I just interject
it takes
for
trust.
a second?
I'm sorry. Yeah, go on.
Oh, so just getting back to the conversation that you and I were having, Sam, like first of all, it's fucked up to like say that white people are like inferior for their lack of melanin.
I know that you
that's
know
like that's fucked up. I think the difference is he's not punching down in that situation, as I think what I was trying to get at, right? So like J.K. Rowling is punching down, right?
Okay.
She is like saying things about the most marginalized group that we have, especially if you're talking about, you know, Black trans folks, but trans folks in general, right? And same thing with like the Chick-fil-A situation, as like it's punching down. So I guess the language I was trying to use was like, in the case where Nick, I almost called him Nick Filet,
Yeah.
And in the case where that could catch on.
That's all right.
In the,
Kanye West almost called him that too, so it's fine.
So in the case where he's like talking about this stuff, it's it's a little bit different than J.K. Rowling or Chick-fil-A is what I'm saying. But again, that's not to condone what he said. It's just to like figure out a way that
that's also subject to interpretation. It's only different in as much as it offends someone.
Well, I mean, punching down is always worse. I mean,
but here's what I'm curious about, like, and here's what I'm curious about is like, why does he what does he specifically think that like we're protecting ourselves from because we have no melanin? Like, what is he like?
Extinction.
What do we need? What do we? Oh, well, that's a pretty big thing.
Yeah,
like,
he said something to the effect of like, lack of melanin made white people naturally inferior, so they had to go out and like wage war on people with melanin in order to conquer them, and because otherwise we would naturally, because our genes are like, white people's genes are genetically inferior and would eventually die out. It was some pretty crazy stuff.
Or be procreated out.
Correct. Or be procreated out. Yeah. Out procreated. Yes.
Yes.
And you see, yeah. Yep.
Well, see, that's what I'm saying is like, I mean, if you don't understand, like, I mean, that's like pseudoscience, right? Like if he wanted to say like, if he wanted to talk about like a dominant gene, right? Like if you have a black person and a white person procreate, their child is not going to be white, therefore blah blah blah. That's like a different conversation. But he,
Yeah, and there's a lot. No, and you see that paranoia on the right too. Occasionally, when like one of those those wingnuts on Fox News will be like, white people go out there and have more babies. Like it's there.
Oh God.
Yeah, I've seen it. So it's honestly, I feel like it's almost like two flip sides of the same reactionary coin. But it isn't, for reasons that Flavie also pointed out, because he's not punching down.
Well, see, I disagree. I don't agree that he's not punching down, but that's I'll save that for
Well, I mean, by the definition of what punching down means, but scientifically, I mean, we are becoming more brown as a country.
So Charlemagne wrote a book called My Black Privilege.
Okay.
And while there is the idea and certainly the historical example of where our place is in the so-called power structure, or in our so-called place in the so-called power structure, not every black person, Professor Griff in particular, does not feel like they are in a position of subservience or on the bottom. They literally believe we are kings. So I didn't get the idea in that conversation that this guy was punching down. And I'm not trying to pile on, to the black guy. And it's just my perspective after watching the video.
Well, just because he doesn't know what he's talking about doesn't mean that punching down isn't still what it is.
Yeah, but he didn't put himself in a position where he felt like.
But that's not what that means.
But he didn't see it as him doing that.
Yeah, just because he didn't see it doesn't mean that's not what it is.
Okay. I think sometimes sentiment matters.
Yeah, it does.
So, Sam, do you disagree with my definition of punching down? Is that not what it means?
I know what punching. No, I know. Well, the theory of punching down means like somebody someone at a higher level, like punching down at someone who's considered on the lower level. Whatever it means. Whether that's racially, gender, or sexually.
Oh shit! Sorry, you're breaking up. You're breaking up again.
Sorry.
Language.
No, we were getting what you were saying though, for the most part.
Yeah. Yeah. Listen, I'm probably gonna check out because I have the Sunday dinner with my mom coming up. This is great though. I wish I could have more time to talk. And
yeah, thanks for having these difficult conversations with us, and thanks for challenging me in particular.
That's okay. No, I love this. I love that I was involved in this.
Yeah.
I love that I was involved in this. Thank you all for having me as part of this. I'm so grateful. Really. So I'm gonna get out of here. I'm looking at the works. But I wish you all the best, and please keep me posted on the next one because I want to be there.
Okay. All right. Well, at least we got some more into that, so that was good.
Well, now we can move on to the women's rights section of the program.
So, what do you want to talk about?
I mean,
You were on standby for Sam and Flav's turn up. That's why the look.
No, what?
You had that look like I was there. I was there.
That. I saw
that happened.
I saw the whole thing.
That was actually pretty great. That was necessary.
Well, I mean, I think people said what needed to be said, because I feel like that, like, the most annoying thing in the world is like when you're trying to express a controversial opinion and you have no fucking clue how to say it, and then you end up like expressing a controversial opinion anyway.
Yeah, no, I think like Ish says, like there's some trust here, so we're able to get into it a little bit, even if it's a little awkward, because we know we might be expressing some shit. I mean, I think Ish, you played like an excellent moderator there, because you were able to like say it in a way that like, you know, made it true but like comfortable. You were like, yeah, we're talking about things that we normally wouldn't really be talking about in a mixed group like this, you know, which makes it challenging, you know.
Well, and I think that like, because like you and Sam have a long-standing friendship and a trust, like, that it's different than like if you were to say the same thing to Joe Schmo on the street, you know.
We have a Joe. By the way,
we do have a Joe. He's not a Schmo, but we do have a Joe.
I didn't mean Joe. I didn't mean our Joey. I meant literal stranger.
We got what you meant.
Well, listen, also, you're crossing some touchy road there, Emily. I'm just messing with you.
But not even Joe Schmo. Like, there are just certain people who, even if you've known them for a long time, you wouldn't talk to them about certain things. So that's real too.
Yeah, that's kind of true.
I mean, the first real thing that Ish said was like, look, like, this is a touchy subject. Like, you got to acknowledge that you may be saying some things that are going to be, you know, taken with offense. You know, that's real. Because I think normally, like, we just don't talk about those kind of things. So, like, there's no need to, like, kind of, like, navigate that carefully, you know? So that's...
No, I think, like, but I think at the same time, like, within this forum, like, let me just throw this out there, is that, like, I feel much more comfortable, like, saying what could be controversial opinions, like, and then I sometimes do to people that I've known for, like, years and years and years and on end.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not gonna say half the things I say in here to my mother.
Sure. And at the very least, I'm glad he realized, like, I was not talking about, like, Jewish people when I was saying like what Nick Cannon should get some grace on like figuring out how to say. So that was good that he realized like that is not what I ever meant.
Well, yeah, sometimes things just come out wrong.
Yeah. Well, that was my point in the beginning, was this whole conversation about Nick, like all of these, like whatever he said was being wrapped up in the same conversation, right? And like my thing was trying to figure out what he actually said about who, and not just like lumping it in the same conversation. I thought that was important to figure out what he was talking about.
Yeah, because this is something, like, I knew Nick Cannon was getting, like, I knew there was controversy and I knew people were canceling him,
Yeah.
but even I didn't know why people were canceling him.
Yeah,
like,
that's the other thing
I usually know this stuff.
Yeah, that's the other thing is I should have actually sat down and watched the whole thing, so I would have had more.
Yeah, that was important to me before we even broached this subject. Like I have a responsibility.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To
Journalistic
watch it.
integrity.
Yeah, I mean, we just, it's something that, and I'm not gonna go in on that, but yeah, definitely, make sure you watch it, Mike.
Yeah. Okay.
Definitely watch it.
At one point, people were saying it was pulled from the internet and all that.
It's on YouTube.
Okay. And I guess KD is still not back. Kelsey, are you
He's
listening?
still not back, but he might be listening to us and he might have heard the whole thing.
He's still on?
We don't know.
He's still on. No, he
he's-
is. I'm telling you, he's still on.
I mean, yeah, he's still technically on. We don't know if he's sleeping in
We
a
don't know
different
if he's
room or-
listening.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, we don't know. He's
Ah.
not talking.
He's
So
just
what
like,
was it? What were you going to mention about the women's rights?
Oh,
No, I was joking. I said,
Okay.
well, now that we've had our conversation with the Jewish guy in here, we can have our conversation about women's rights, and I could play the role of the token women.
The token woman?
Yes.
well, two quick things. The thing that we were talking about before, Ish, that I was going to bring up was I think I found someone on my Let's Get Serious page who, I don't know if he knows that it's a spoof page or not, because he actually has some views that, like, he said something on the page, like, the picture of the white woman and the noose next to her.
Oh, the one I found?
Yeah.
The one you said looked like Roseanne?
Yes. So he commented on the page, and I don't know who this guy is. I think he's a friend of a friend, but I don't know, like a close friend of a friend, one of those. But he wrote,
Yeah.
I agree on the page. And I'm just scrolling down and I'm looking at it, and I just responded, like, what do you mean? Like, I don't know if he agrees with, like, the other people who disagree with the woman, or if he agrees with her. Like, I don't know what he meant. So then I went to his page, and then he's got, like, a video of this group of black people vandalizing over the Black Lives Matter street art thing. And they're, like, Christians, and they're, like, they're just like weird people who say, like, Black Lives Matter isn't for all black people, and they're like.
So what are you saying? What are you saying that this guy's politics are? Like, what do you?
I'm saying that I think he's far right, and he may think that he found his page for his beliefs.
Not realizing that it was intended to be satire?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because I know, Ish, you were saying you've been getting weird messages from people who you think maybe might just be trying to argue with you or something. Thought that was like
they just want to engage.
Yeah, thought that was like a parallel sentiment.
Wait, who's arguing with you? Random people
No,
on the
I
internet?
just get random friend requests from, camouflage wearing, gun toting, what appear to be from their Facebook history, like hardcore conservatives. And it's like, have you looked at my page? Why would you friend request me?
Right.
Yeah, right.
And I mean total strangers. Like, we have no mutual friends. My page is public. So, anybody can see what I post on my page.
Okay, so the other thing we didn't get to talk about that I found interesting but disturbing, and now it's kind of like that's all kind of making sense, is the Ferengis. Have you heard anything?
Yeah, I didn't agree with that, but go on.
You didn't agree? You didn't agree
At
with
all.
Did you read the article?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, the thing about like anti-Semitism in sci-fi.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't agree with it at all. But go on. First of all, I think I best guess, and I could be wrong. It just occurs to me that Roddenberry is Jewish.
Oh,
and
yeah.
and so sometimes I think people just reach, right? Because Star Trek has been nothing but an example of diversity before diversity was a thing.
That's true. Doesn't mean they're perfect, but that
Right.
is true.
But
True.
but from my perspective, I think that's just somebody reaching to make a non-point, a point where there really wasn't one.
My problem is I was feeling this way, and I was feeling this way for a while before I read any article. And the only thing that article did was it put into words things that I was starting to feel. And I was like actually feeling kind of uncomfortable with those characters. And for the longest time, I didn't know why, until recently I kind of thought about it. And then I thought I kind of knew why.
So are you saying that it's not that we can't have a fictional race based on economics because it may parallel a negative stereotype of a real race?
No.
Okay, go on.
No, I'm saying based on several things that I've observed, it gives me an uncomfortable feeling.
Okay.
And it feels like several stereotypes. Several ugly ones.
Okay.
And I don't know, I kind of trust myself, and B, I kind of wonder why this has been like a thing for a while until I kind of smartened up a little bit. I was like, wait a minute, I know those tropes. And I started to think about it, and I was like, oh. And then when I read about it, I was like, okay, I'm not like out here on my own. And then they pointed out like several things, which are definitely tropes. And part of it.
First
was
of all,
let's
let's just clarify exactly what it is we're talking about for anyone that may be viewing, because we didn't yet.
Okay. So we're talking about Star Trek. We're talking about a character on a few iterations of Star Trek called the Ferengis. Now, I think Deep Space Nine is where they're most prominently like a part of the story, and they're pretty much like, there's a character.
A Ferengi is stationed on Deep Space Nine and is pretty much in every episode.
Yep. Not only a Ferengi, but also his nephew, I think. So at least two.
At least two.
Yeah, at least two. Maybe there's more sometimes, but two. And all throughout Deep Space Nine. And I feel like on Voyager, I may have seen one just on the first episode. And
there are two on the first episode, and then they reappear several seasons later.
Oh, okay. There you go. See, I knew.
Actually,
I was talking to an expert. So I'm right. They do at least disappear for a while. So my friend, who's also a Trekkie, which I'm not saying that you are a Trekkie, but
I'm not. But
okay, but you have some expertise and some knowledge, and can definitely pull from whatever seasons, whatever knowledge you need. My friend was quick to point out that Gene Roddenberry had died before.
DS9.
Yeah, definitely before DS9. So then
He
I
died
asked,
before Next Generation was done.
see, and that's when, yeah, see, that's what I'm talking about. And so they're not, they're a little bit in Next Generation, right? Is that correct?
They're in Next Generation.
Oh, like a lot or a little, or
Not more than any other race, but not any less.
okay, all right. So yeah, so that was my thing because I thought, I don't want to say I thought I got him, but when he was like, oh well, Gene Roddenberry was dead by Deep Space Nine, I was like, well, what about Next Generation? And he was like, yeah, he was dead by then too. So I mean, that's just to acknowledge that.
So he may not have created the Ferengi, is what we're saying, and that could be the case.
Yeah,
that could absolutely be the case.
Yeah,
I can't argue against that, and it actually seems likely based on the time periods. So just to continue to clarify, though, the Ferengi are a race of aliens that are economic driven to the point of being liars, cheats, and even thieves. Everything for the Ferengi are about money. I'm just clarifying for anyone.
We can get more into it. It's liars, cheats, thieves. Everything is about money. They have a whole what is that book that he always references? Quark. It's the hand. What is it? Not a handbook, but like rules.
Yeah, they all refer to it. Their
Basically,
religion is pretty much economics.
Yeah,
and that
their religion is greed.
Yeah.
There's a whole
it's
rule
economic based religion. Their government is economic based. Everything is economics.
Now the way that these guys look, they've got these real sharp teeth.
Big ears, big foreheads.
Yeah, big
huge
ears,
ears, almost elephantine.
Yeah, big noses, and just like a really. I just don't know how to describe it. Like a really just
I
ugly looking
kind
skin.
of have a visual. I have a visual.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's a lot, but I mean, I won't get too much into it. I mean, I'll let folks, if they want to look into it themselves and see what they think. But I was just like,
on second thought, it's viable. I dismissed it out of hand at first because, without really thinking about.
And, Gene Roddenberry was progressive and
right.
First black kiss and all the first interracial kiss and all that stuff. And Martin Luther King watched it and told the actress to stay on and not quit because she was a role model to many young black women and stuff like that.
I mean, they absolutely did bring 7 of 9 on the Voyager to exploit the fact that she was an attractive woman that looked nice in a tight uniform.
7 of 9?
Yeah. The actress who plays her character, the character's name is 7 of 9.
Oh, okay.
Or 7, because she was a Borg, and her designation was Borg number 7 of 9 of the 9
okay.
in her.
And this is Deep Space Nine.
This is Voyager.
Oh,
and
yes.
they specifically brought her onto the show halfway through the season and put her in the tightest Starfleet uniform ever worn by any Starfleet officer.
Okay, let me make sure.
Excuse me while I go look this up.
And ratings went up. Ratings immediately went up.
Okay, I just want to make sure because 7 of 9. Oh, yeah.
And this was a progressive show with a female captain.
Yeah.
They were trying to be progressive, and when the ratings went down, then 7 of 9 didn't appear as a cast member till halfway through the 7 seasons.
Okay.
And they've talked about it. The woman who played Captain Janeway talked about how she was offended by it, and then later it grew on her because this was another woman who was going to be working. You understand what I'm saying? And the ratings were going up, but it bothered her that they made all these leaps and bounds, being progressive and having a female captain on a strong show. And,
right.
Just to kind of sabotage or undermine that by bringing in someone specifically for sex appeal. It just so happened that 7 of 9 became a compelling character.
Sure.
But they brought her in to get
Yeah.
teenage boys and men to increase the viewership and
To
teenage
increase
boys and
their
men.
viewership.
Like, listen, this even the actress who played 7 of 9 would tell you how uncomfortable the uniform she wore was.
Who was the actress?
Her name is she's the actress
Jerry
who was
Ryan.
Jerry Ryan. She was married to Jerry Ryan. She was married to the politician who she revealed was like using her in all kind of sex type.
Yeah, her name's Jerry Ryan.
Yeah, Jerry Ryan. Her husband was a senator or something like that. Or was trying to run for senator.
Okay.
Oh, okay. I'll have to look it up.
Jack, I believe, was her husband.
What's his name?
Maybe that's the the character from the movies. Her husband's last name is Ryan. I can't remember his name, but he was in politics. And she came out.
And it wasn't Paul Ryan?
It might have been. She just came out and how he was trying to, like, he sexually exploited her throughout the course of their relationship.
Man.
And that was the first character like that on that season?
Like what?
That was like dressed, that was like...
yeah, everybody else had regular Starfleet uniforms.
Okay.
Literally. So the Voyager crew was a crew that was put together between two different crews. The remnants of a Starfleet crew and the remnants of the Maquis, which were their enemy.
Okay.
What happened? He got stuck on the other side of a wormhole chasing the Maquis ship, and they had to end up working together, so the two crews merged and became one crew. And they all became Starfleet officers. And they all wore, even these, this enemy crew even wore Starfleet uniforms. When they get 7 of 9, they have no reason give her the tightest uniform ever worn by anyone on any Star Trek show ever.
To the point where it was apparently uncomfortable for her?
Yeah, it's like this gray suit that looks like it's painted on her body. No Starfleet uniform looks like this.
Yeah.
Except for her.
That's clearly for sex appeal.
Yeah.
Well, they've got a man in here that I think they're trying to show you what it would be like if they did that to a man.
And where?
I don't know. It's this page. It's this page that I'm on.
Oh, so you actually found pictures of her and you see what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like her uniform was specifically for sex appeal. She had a nice butt. She had a nice body. I'm not trying to be crass, but that was the reason why that's why they did it.
Tell us how you really feel, Ish.
I mean, people... Listen, when 7 of 9 came on Voyager, people were talking about 7 of 9. She became a very popular character. One, because she is a really compelling character, which, kind of helps. But 2, because of her sex appeal, which is, kind of a negative reason, but it's a reason nonetheless.
What season?
All the teenage nerds was sitting there. It was either the end of season 3, beginning of season 4.
Okay.
Mind you, every Star Trek series the standard Star Trek series is 7 seasons.
Right.
So I'm trying to recall when was Voyager on? I can't remember now.
This is 97. She came on in 97.
Okay, so like teenage nerd boys, like my age. Because that's when I was a teenager.
And our first appearance is Scorpion Part 2.
Mind you, it takes a couple episodes before they get her looking like that, because she looks like a Borg at first.
Right, and her hair's longer, right? Longer and kind of scraggly, like she looks like she's been, she looks like some kind of, what do you call, refugee or something.
Yep, and then when they finally get her into the crew, she looks like something else.
Wait, and Chakotay is the Native American guy?
Yes, he was the captain of the enemy ship.
Okay.
And he becomes the first officer on Voyager.
Yeah, he gets them. Yeah, the first. They have some interesting things going on the first episode, because it's like
Voyager's a great series.
Yeah, because it's like he's got an engineer who's very talented, but she is like not
Torres.
Yeah,
she's a Latinx woman who plays a Klingon.
Yeah, she's like not good with people. She like punches some dude. Like breaks his nose, and
Yep.
and all the time, Chakotay is trying to convince the captain that she'd make a good engineer.
Oh, you must have recently watched the first episode.
Yeah. I just recently. Yeah, I've been on Deep Space Nine for a while.
Oh, Voyager's the best one, the best show.
Yeah, I've been on Deep Space Nine for a while, and then I skipped to a couple episodes of Voyager with your boy Debo, your boy Tommy Lister Jr. playing the Klingon.
What Klingon?
Oh, my bad. That's no, that's Enterprise. Sorry, I also skipped.
Okay.
You ever watch Enterprise?
I didn't.
Okay. Your boy Tiny Lister Jr. does his thing as a Klingon in there.
Discovery's great as well.
Discovery. Wait, remind me which one that is?
The most recent one. The third season hasn't come out yet.
Oh yeah. I watched Discovery. Yeah, I messed with Discovery. Yep. The thing with Enterprise or whatever it's called is the theme song is not like how they usually do. It's not like a score like how these guys usually do. It's like this cheesy like song that you would hear, off of like Dawson's Creek or something.
Well, it's pre-Romulan Vulcan War, right? So it's Federation seeking out new worlds and new civilizations and boldly going where to be politically correct, one has gone before.
Yeah, but they're still in a spaceship, and they still.
Yeah, but they just recently gotten that capability.
Yeah, but I'm saying so that means they can't have a score. They gotta have like a cheesy sounding like.
Listen, scores are for full establishment in space, Federation developed. We're boldly going.
I guess that was
right now. They're not boldly going. They're hesitantly.
They're bold. They're just they're if anything they got to be bold because they don't really know what they're doing.
It's hesitance. They're hesitantly going where no one has gone before.
I guess that's the way that singer sounds to me. He sounds hesitant.
There's a singer?
That's what I'm saying. It's not a score. It's like it's this cheese. Oh man, I should
no. The moment they put Scott Bakula in it, I'm like, nah. I'm good.
Yeah, but this makes you think, oh, okay, they put Scott Bakula in it.
It's gonna be some Quantum Leap stuff going on.
That's probably they were like, oh yeah, he did Quantum Leap. He's comfortable with sci-fi. Like we'll throw him in there.
Yeah, he just doesn't. I don't believe him as an actor.
I know what you mean. He's okay. There's some people on there that are worse than him. There's a guy who plays his father, who's a little rough. But then there's a kid who plays him as a kid, and that kid's kind of rough. That kid's rough.
Mm. Well, I wonder if they're gonna run into any of the Discovery crew.
That's a good question. I think they only did. It's over now. I think it was 2004 to 2008 or something.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean they can't pop up in Discovery.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Oh, I see.
Because Spock is still very young.
Wait, so remind me. Discovery. What's the time? Where does Discovery fit?
It predates Captain Kirk by I don't know how long.
Oh, okay.
Think about it. Spock is young. Michael Burns. Spock is her adopted brother, right? And they grew up together.
Oh, yes. Okay, I got you.
So Spock is still very, very young.
It's the original series.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I got you. You ever? So which one? Remind me. I'm starting to get them mixed up now. Remind me which one has Tuvok.
Voyager.
Okay.
Yeah, Voyager. You're talking about the Vulcan?
Yeah, Black Vulcan.
Yep.
One of my favorite scenes from Deep Space Nine. I mean, it's probably just my favorite because my friend had told me about it before I watched it. But I think what's his name? Cisco, the captain, ends up punching out Q, and Q just looks at him shocked, like Captain Picard would have never done that, and he's like, "I'm not Captain Picard."
Yeah, I remember that.
So I always add some extra spice to it, and I always say, "I'm not Captain Picard, motherfucker."
Emily,
I'm still here.
you got some stuff you want to interject?
Yeah, please. I've been talking for a while.
No, I put myself on mute because I was eating, but no, I don't know. I mean, I'm not as familiar with like the canon of Star Trek. I do kind of find it interesting, like what you were saying about the character being put in, like specifically for sex appeal, because like it's kind of, I don't know what it is. I feel like that, like, and I don't want to sound like I'm making a generalization, but I feel like that like men are very visual creatures when it comes to that.
I would venture to say, and you could tell me if I'm wrong, women are too.
Women are too, but they won't admit it.
That's what I was going to say next. You know what I mean? It's funny because all of my friends, and I'm just going to say this, and listen, criticize me, shut me up, tell me I'm wrong or I'm overstepping my boundaries. All of my friends that are guys that watch wrestling, right? Eventually their wives watch wrestling with them, and I'm always joking. I'm like, yeah, because there's a bunch of muscular guys in tights, and they're always like, no, I could care less about that. And I'm like, why? I believe you. Like, I think if I was a woman, right, and a bunch of muscular dudes were rolling around in tights, I might be interested. I'm a guy, and I'm not reasons, but you understand, I watch wrestling. I'm going to watch the pay-per-view tonight.
Oh, speaking of which, how did you guys like the image of the 63-7 of 9? Rule 63-7 of 9.
I didn't see that. And let's talk about this. Let's talk about it, Emily, since I have you on, and I know we have established a level of trust where we can just talk about stuff. You know what I mean? So let's talk about this. So in fandom, like say anime, for instance, right? Like that's the thing. Mm-hmm. Women are objectified in most anime. Women are just objectified, right? And that's probably not going to change. And not that it shouldn't change. It should. It's probably not going to change because this stuff isn't coming out of, in most cases, America. It's coming out of Japan.
Yeah,
right?
Different customs.
It's just custom and culture. And so as someone who is a fan and a supporter of comic books, right? I remember in the 90s, there was this argument that women were being objectified because a lot of popular comic books came out in the 90s, like Vampirella, Lady Death, Warrior Nun, Ariella. They just did a TV show on Netflix for Warrior Nun, Ariella, for Warrior Nun.
Yeah.
And they were very, 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 very considerate of how the women were portrayed. And I was appreciative of it. I loved the show. First of all, I just want to preface that in most cases, the characters that I am partial to in most of the things that I like to consume are women. Probably because I was raised by a woman and I live with my sister, and I had women around me my whole life. I wasn't raised by my father, so I've always been partial. Like my favorite X-Men is Rogue. My favorite comic book is Monstrous, and the lead character is Micah Halfwolf, who's a woman. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
My favorite characters
you mess with Hannah.
Look at Kelsey.
Who? Yeah, Hannah, the movie Hannah. I don't watch the TV show, but the movie, loved it.
The movie.
Yo, look,
ridiculous, right?
It just missed your heart. She's like, oh, I just missed your heart. But my favorite G.I. Joe character is Scarlet and Baroness. You understand what I'm saying? So you understand what I'm saying? So sometimes I have to stop myself because I'll over inundate my comic book Facebook group with dope women characters. You know what I mean? And I got to keep in mind, okay, there's guys here. Let me make sure I put guy characters and da da da. The point I'm saying is that in the 90s there was this big argument. Oh, women are objectified in comics. Oh, they got the Lady Death, and I'm really happy Warrior Nun because the entire cast, the majority, 90% of the cast are women, and they're all dope. Matter of fact, this cast is so this cast is so good that the main character is like she's not like there are 5 characters better than her.
Yeah, way
you know what
better.
I mean? Like straight up. And but the thing is, and they do it so well because the comic book, like she's this nun who wears next. You see what I'm saying? So there was this, and this was in the 90s. There was this big argument over all women are objectified in comics, and I to the argument, and maybe I'm wrong. And the reason why is because I read comic books, and I swear to God, I would love to have Superman's body. Right? Like I would love to look like Thor. So my thought process is like, well, everybody's objectified in comics.
You and every other man would love to look like Thor.
Like they all. My thought was like everybody is objectified in a comic book. Yeah. None of these people look anything remotely close to human, and they're all wearing the tightest clothes. You understand what I'm saying?
It's not specific to women, and I don't think women are getting any. Like ever got any disparate treatment in comic books, like, and honest to God, I get like
liberties. I read a graphic novel when I was young, and it bothered me. You know, Hawk can be portrayed. You know, some writers like to make her like super lascivious. I don't have a problem with that, but I know what they're doing. Like there was, you know, one particular issue in her graphic novel where they stretched the limit on nudity as far as they could.
So that it's almost like cartoon porn.
In the She-Hulk graphic, I mean, there was a situation where she gets captured by some enemies, and they want her blood because she's, you know, Hulk. She has the gamma blood, and you know, there's 2 scenes in particular. There's a scene where they have her spread eagle in an X, like spread eagle, and she's completely nude, but they show her on a computer screen, so they get away with literally showing like. She's laying on her stomach, so they show her butt, they show her mound, so to speak. You understand what I'm saying? But
I get the picture.
It's kind of blurred on a computer, but they show this. And then there's another scene where her clothes are ripped to shreds, and you don't see her nipples, but you see her areolas.
Okay.
And this is a She-Hulk comic. And me personally, as someone who loves She-Hulk, that graphic novel, I hate the way she was treated in that graphic novel.
Well, that's like, different, I think, because that's not objectification. That's ostensibly glorifying violence towards women.
It's kind of, you can't really. It's objectification in the sense that when it comes to comics, you can't. The idea of glorifying of glorifying violence towards women doesn't exist. This is She-Hulk, like the second strongest being on Earth. You have face if you're fighting her.
Yeah, but to give her a nip slip, that's objective.
Because again, this is She-Hulk. Like imagine the type of role model. I often tell people the first woman movie that Marvel should have promoted was She-Hulk. You know how much money they could make and how big of a role model she's a lawyer. She can also, you know, beat up every guy. Understand what I'm saying? Like she's just such. There's so many great things about this character, and you got her, you know, tied up, trying to gratuitous nipple slips.
I mean, I see what you're saying. Like, but it's like, it's kind of like, I'm trying to find the right word. It's kind of like insulting to make like, you know, an intelligent, like, high achieving woman into nothing but a sex symbol.
Right. I better that way. But this is the guy. I'm also the guy that I care for sex scenes in films if they're gratuitous.
If they don't need to be there, that's not worth having them. Right.
Like I'm a creator, so I want consistency, and I don't just want you to have a sex scene because we happen to have this hot actress and these 2 hot actors. Let's just, you know what I mean? Like, gratuitous to me is. Go on, I'm sorry.
I'm not a fan of gratuitous nudity or gratuitous sex scene, but I feel like I'm like not a fan of it for either men or women. The problem
I'm the same way.
The problem is that people do it much more often with women because too many people seem to think that like women that like our purpose on earth is to stand here and look pretty, which I want to those people I want to strangle, quite frankly. Excuse me, sorry,
and it's
viewers, I'm not
interesting too
threatening violence.
because even women appreciate women, right?
Most women, like, I mean, I feel like that like women are more, I guess, how do I put it, more sexually fluid than men, it seems, and are more likely to like to have feelings about another woman's body than like men are with each other, if that makes any sense.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, I feel like, and I don't know if it's like, I don't know if it's like just statistics of who I'm. Oh, there's a fire outside. I don't know if it's just statistics of like who I talk to or like who feels comfortable talking about what, but like I feel like it's always the women who are much more able to comment on / be attracted to other women than it is
Well, I can,
men.
speaking for myself, I'm not attracted to other men, right? As a cisgender male, I'm just not. However, I am also the same guy who stood on this live stream that we're doing right now and said that I was absolutely flattered that another guy referred to me as handsome.
Okay.
I'm a cisgendered male, as they say. I don't even know, how that means.
You're a cis
guy.
male.
You know what I mean? So I'm not, I'm a heterosexual guy. I'm not attracted to men. I don't find men attractive. This is
but
not to say.
Everybody wants to be complimented.
Hold on. This is not to say that I can't look at a guy and be like, oh, that's a handsome guy. I think people would find him attractive.
That's true. No, I think that.
I can. You understand what I'm saying? That's just because, as humans, you can kind of tell, like, okay, yeah, that guy, I'm sure people would be attracted to him. I'm not. You understand what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
But, but for sure.
But I think that's not necessarily like.
Yeah, because you have a lot of guys but you have a lot of guys that would probably feel uncomfortable or aren't as comfortable with themselves to admit such things.
Yeah, because of toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
I mean, like
I've been approached by guys, right? And I don't treat it any different than if a woman approached me. If I'm not interested, I'm flattered, but I'm just, it's not my thing. I'm not mad. I'm absolutely flattered. I think I'm that dude. Sometimes I look in the mirror and I be like, man, why wouldn't somebody? Like, let me stop.
Let you stop before your wife comes in the room.
I'm going too far.
I mean, I kind of get what you're saying. Like, girls, it's kind of hard for me to comment on that. Like, speaking for women.
Because you're not one.
And what? You just said I'm not a woman.
I mean, I'm just trying to figure out where we're going here.
No, what I was gonna say, I can't really speak for like straight women because I'm not one, so I can't really say like, what do they feel about like when they see like.
You're saying it's easier for you to be more open about speaking about it because you're not straight.
Yes, thank you. I couldn't find the words, but yes. Like, I think it's like, it's easier for me to be like more open about like noticing beauty in like everybody, because like that's just me. Like,
mm-hmm.
I'm kind of more like, to use the comic book analogy, I'm kind of more like Harley Quinn
Mm-hmm.
as far as like, you know, it's just me. But like, still at the same time, I kind of see what you're getting at because, for example, like, even like everybody's got preferences of who they're attracted to, like, even if they're attracted to like multiple genders, like, sure as hell, I'm not going to say that like every
Gender
single
is a
person.
social construct.
Well, gender is a social construct, but what I'm saying is like, you know, just because I like, you know, men, women, like she is, they is, hims, hers, whatever, doesn't mean that I'm gonna
Furries.
like every she, shim, the blah 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 blah, every like doesn't mean that I'm gonna find every single person in the universe attractive. So it's like I still have preferences, even though, even being bisexual. Like, if that makes any sense.
It makes perfect sense. That goes across the board for everyone. Flav and I were having this discussion recently where we were kind of discussing how preferences are discriminative, right?
Like, I'll tell you this flat out now, like, and I'm gonna put it out there on Front Street, honestly, because as you know, I put everything out on Front Street, honestly. But
don't tell us anything that you're gonna want us to cut.
No,
she's good with that. She doesn't.
I'm always mindful of that. No, but like what I was like, I tend not to, and this is just my personal preference, I tend not to be attracted to white guys. Like, doesn't do it for me.
So
But
I
I
had a
could see-
conversation recently with a friend of mine who is in the same situation as you, and I always joke with her, right? I'm like, yeah, I put on this Southern woman's voice, and I'm like, yeah, go mosey on down to the auction block, and you know, I'm always joking around, right? And she's very appalled by it because she feels some type of way, and she said to me, she said, you know, I have to question if the fact that I'm attracted to black men makes me racist. And I said, well, if it's any relief, the answer is yes. And she's like, and you know, Mike and I actually negotiated this topic, and we came to the conclusion that racism probably isn't the best word, and prejudice probably isn't the best word either, but discriminative, in the sense that based on personal preference, right? We discriminate. Like we just do.
In multiple ways. Like humans are wired to discriminate just based on personal preference because everyone has preferences.
Right.
Just like everyone's got assholes.
And those preferences could say that, you know, a strict lesbian is a misandrist. But you're not really a misandrist, right? You just prefer women. Or, you know, a strict heterosexual or cis male is, you know, a misogynist. Or excuse me, a misandrist. Or you understand what I'm saying? And
or that a gay man is a misogynist.
Or a gay man is a misogynist. And it's just like, well, the reality is it's just discrimination by preference. Discrimination based on the face value of the word without the negative connotations, right? Just the face value. It's discriminative. Katie.
But it's like, you know, it's not 100% like that I'm never going to be attracted to any white guys, but it's very rare.
Right.
Like, but I can still like tell, like, I don't know, I can still understand why like people might find like, I don't know, Zac Efron attractive. I personally don't, but I could see why people do. It's the same kind of thing as you were saying about like how you could tell like that other women could find a guy attractive that just doesn't float your boat. Like it's the same kind of thing.
I find all women
You bring it back
beautiful. Like I don't care what color you are. For me,
not the little ones though.
That never. I never had, my preference was never so refined. Not that there's anything wrong with that type of refinement. Mine was just never so refined. My preferences come from or are based on different things. There are different things that I discriminate against, most of which happen to come from attitude and personality.
Meaning,
I
like,
could find somebody very attractive, and if they open up their mouth and their attitude is a certain way, I just don't see them as attractive anymore.
like if they open up their mouth and they're like confrontational or shit.
Yeah, it
and,
doesn't
like,
have to be confrontational.
toxic,
It doesn't even have to be toxic. It's nuanced, right? It's just, I just don't click
You're
with
not
their
feeling it.
personality or not fit. Then they're no longer attractive to me.
Yeah, I get
You understand what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying.
And that's weird, because I've seen people, especially when I was younger, that I was, immediately attracted to, and then when I got to know them, it's like, you're not even really pretty to me, but you are pretty. You understand what I'm saying? You're just not pretty to me anymore.
Totally
I wish
understand.
there was a totally different person inside of you. You
no,
know what I mean?
I do totally understand what you're saying, because I'm kind of like that, where I'm like, people can be beautiful to me, and like the second that I find out that they're like vapid or intellectually devoid, I lose interest.
Right. And, there have been situations where people that I wasn't attracted to became attractive as I got to know them.
Yeah, no, it works that way too.
So yeah, there's KD.
Yo.
How do you discriminate based on preference?
You know what?
You don't date Pakistani people?
No. I had a big thing with the I'm trying not to discriminate now. The vertically challenged.
Short people?
Yes.
And you don't think vertically challenged is bad?
Little people, that's what they call them. Little people.
Oh man. People. Now you did it.
Well, Mike.
How tall are you, KD?
6'8". But Mike, listen, do you remember when we got chased by a little person on a tricycle?
This is not going to be good. We're already in the bad realm right now. We're bad.
We're living on Main Street.
We're in a bad place right now.
Main Street?
I repeat, we are in a bad place right now.
Okay, wait, hold on.
I think that sounds like this might be a later conversation.
The shark is circling the raft.
Wait, Main Street, over like across from Wendy's?
Yeah. Remember, we were walking to the west side. We was walking, I believe, or we were going to Maggie's house.
Why did I do it?
Why did you do it? Why did you bring this up? I mean,
while we were walking, we heard a noise behind us. When we turned around, it was a vertically challenged person on a tricycle.
And what happened?
What happened was he scared the mess out of us. And I think our reaction, he took offense to our reaction.
I don't think Mike remembers being afraid.
Yeah, no, I mean, because we was walking, we didn't even know he was behind us. He came up quiet like Diva.
Oh man, this is bad.
And I guess we just turned around and looked, and one of us saw him, and
y'all ran.
It gets worse, man. Because at first we thought it was a little girl.
Why am I doing this? Why
did you do this to yourself?
But it wasn't a little girl. It was a grown man.
On today's episode of On That KD.
With a dress and a wig on. And he was vertically challenged. And he was angry.
So I think vertically challenged is not a good phrase. Something about it feels so bad.
Let me interject here. With that whole story aside, I think I kind of get the point. But like,
this sounds like you're combining different elements of the movie Friday.
No,
Is
no,
that
no,
possible?
No.
Because there's the little person that's like breaking up with his wife
it's not getting better.
across the street and starts
Anyway.
throwing
This
her
was like if
clothes.
Wes Craven did Friday.
And then there's a little badass boy on a bike, like that keeps fucking with everybody's trash cans.
Nah, this is a grown man. He was a grown man.
Right, but if you put those two elements together,
Yeah, I can see how it
Pandora
collaborates.
meat box.
This was real
Please,
life,
Pandora
Mike.
Meatbox.
I'm surprised you don't remember, Mike.
yeah, I'm having trouble remembering.
But I think, like, kind of going back to the topic at hand, like,
So basically, ever since then, whenever I came across someone of that situation, I've always had a side eye for.
but here's what I was going to say is, like, for example, like, I'm short. Like, it's not something that, like, not something that you see on Zoom, how short or tall I actually am. I mean, I'm short. I'm not, like, that kind of short. But, like, I'm, like, 5'2". And, like, I don't think that, Katie, I don't think that it would be convenient for you to be with a girl, like, my height, because
Well,
I'm
no,
like a
see,
foot and a
that's
half
different.
shorter.
You're shorty. You're not short.
Oh, man.
You're shorty.
Oh, man.
What we encountered that night, that was like mini. It wasn't even short. It was like mini.
Language.
Like, oh yeah, like it just wasn't normal. Well,
No, language. What do you mean it wasn't normal, man? What are we doing here?
I got.
It wasn't my average day. Even.
What are we doing here?
Yeah.
I apologize for anyone I have offended.
What is happening here?
I should have never opened up that can of worms.
Pandora meat box.
Yeah, that was definitely Pandora's box. But yes, to answer the question, I do discriminate. Not intentionally, though.
So we need one of those. The views expressed on the show are not necessarily the views of the. Like we need one of.
What, like a disclaimer?
The future.
Yeah, I definitely need a disclaimer.
You need the censors. Actually, I need the censors. Although you gotta admit, I've been controlling my cursing more today.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we definitely need a disclaimer down the line. That's something we need to consider.
Emily's sailor mouth does not speak for all of us. I mean, honestly, I just need a sticker to walk around with that just says, like, parental advisory, adult content.
Oh, I
slap
did
it on
get
my
your picture,
forehead.
Mike, of the 7 of 9 suit
Oh yeah.
on a guy.
Mm-hmm.
Do I want to see this whole picture? Yeah, no, I don't want to see this whole picture.
No, I think that you have to see the whole picture in order to.
Yeah, that's what that's pretty much what they did to her, though.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty much what they did to her. Like, she talked about how uncomfortable it was because there was like wire involved in order to keep things in place.
Got it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was
Things
just,
that only we have to deal with that you all are lucky not to have to deal with.
I mean, if you look at this picture here that I'm going to post in our thread, you can see the difference between how pretty much every other woman in Starfleet dressed in Seven of Nine dressed. I'm going to post it in our thread because it's pretty much her and John Zia Dax. It's her and John Zia Dax in a picture together.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, it looks like she did have to have, like, you know, Spanx and shit to put that, Spanx and stuff.
Did I just like it? I didn't mean to. Let me unlike it. How do I do that?
You just tap it again. Tap it again till all the emojis come up and then let it go.
Oh, that's how that works.
Yeah.
Now let me do it.
I learned that a few weeks ago.
It's not letting me do it.
I'll be using my thumb to scroll up and I accidentally
You gotta hold
like or hate
yeah, there you
something.
go.
I didn't.
Boom. Yep.
Yeah,
now
you
can
see,
unlike.
you see how
How old you are?
drastically different she was made to dress,
Mm-hmm.
and that
Well,
was because
just
specifically.
looking at it makes me feel uncomfortable because it makes me think of, like, all of them, shall we nicely put it, women's undergarments that have to be involved in that.
Probably, I would imagine very few.
No, but I mean, like, the types of women's undergarment, like what you were saying, like, keeping things in place, shall we
Yeah.
nicely put it?
I got you.
I see what you're saying.
Like, that looks like, you know, 3 or 4 pairs of Spanx there.
They used wiring.
Yeah, but still, the stuff that keeps women's elements in place, like, is it's so uncomfortable. Like, you can't do anything.
Yeah, she did describe how she was very restricted. Let's see. Let's talk about it. Let's see what she said.
Like, I'm not gonna lie, like, if I'm stuck in, like, you know, some crazy formal dress where I have to wear Spanx, like, I can't even drive I can't even drive a car.
So I
I
don't
feel
even know
so
what Spanx are.
restricted. Like, you know, like, they're like bike shorts, like, that, like, push women's stomachs in.
Oh.
Like, they're like girdles.
They used to call them butt pants back in the day, or biker shorts.
No, because biker shorts aren't as, I mean, I like biker shorts, but biker shorts aren't as freaking annoyingly restrictive.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
these are like Spanx are like a combination of biker shorts and corsets. Like,
Oh, okay.
it basically pushes all of you, it's basically an undergarment that pushes all of a woman's fat into, like, more desirable arrangements, shall we nicely put it? And it's the most uncomfortable thing ever. Like I couldn't even, like, the few times I've had to wear them, like, in a formal dress and stuff, like, I couldn't even drive a car. Like, that bad, uncomfortable, terrible. These are things that you guys never have to worry about.
You never know. You can't say that.
Well, let me rephrase that you
thinking about getting some Spanx, Mike?
I mean, you know, what if I go for a certain role or whatever, and you know, Spanx are.
I mean, they do
involved.
make Spanx for men.
They do?
I think they do.
Oh, wow.
I think I read that on the internet somewhere. But they're like the most, I mean, I'm sorry, like, I think that's another problem, though, with
Well, I guess a wife, not a wife beater, a tank is Spanx for men.
Maybe, I don't know.
Wait, just a tank top?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, she's talking about these things are so tight they actually hold things in. You're
Yeah.
talking like you're talking about, think of what would be a good way to describe. I mean, it's like
Extremely tight briefs. I don't know.
Oh,
you think of like compression
One of the things she
socks for your
says,
like stomach and butt.
one of the things she says about the outfit is that apparently they don't wear bra and panties in space. She
So
said,
what you
oh wow.
what's going on there with the music?
Is it Christmas time? Did somebody not tell me?
In her first appearance, 7 of 9 appeared as a full Borg drone. When Ryan first put on her Borg uniform, the costume designers apparently didn't take the prosthetics into account. As a result, the collar kept pressing on her carotid artery, cutting off blood flow to the brain. If she turned her head, it made her pass out on the set on at least 2 occasions. The first thing you notice about
This
Jerry
is
Ryan's silver
dangerous.
catsuit is that it's tight, really tight. The official explanation was that the catsuit was made of a revolutionary fabric that helped her skin regenerate. Translation: they wanted the costume to look as tight as possible. The producers wanted her uniform to look like a second skin, and they got it. In Starlog magazine, she said, "If I got goosebumps, you could see them." In fact, it was so tight she had trouble breathing. It got so bad that they had nurses on the set with oxygen tanks. It was so tight originally that I passed out 4 times.
They should have just painted. They should have just
They would-
used skin paint.
They
It
would
would've been
bring
better off.
nurses to the set with oxygen, and I wouldn't say anything. But after the 4th time passing out, I spoke up. That made them finally loosen it up. The other thing you
Jesus
notice about
Christ.
the other thing you notice about the cat,
exploitative.
yeah, the other things you notice about the cat suit are the boobs. Let's face it, they look incredible, and there's a reason. Since the fabric was supposed to look like skin, they didn't want the fabric to do what it naturally does, which is stretched. Which is stretched from high point to high point, i.e. from one nipple to the other. That's why they made what the costume designer called breast mounds, individual shapes on her catsuit for each of her breasts. It took a special construction of the corset, what Ryan called a feat of engineering, to achieve. The corset kept her from bending. The other distinctive aspect of 7 of 9's silver costume is the vertical ribs running along the sides. The in-universe explanation for them is that they are leftovers from her Borg implants, or mechanical ribs. In reality, they were just there to disguise her corset. Because the catsuit was so tight, they included a corset to give her a more hourglass shape. With the ribs built into the corset, she couldn't even bend over or sit comfortably. She was relieved when they introduced the brown catsuit, which had a thicker fabric, taking away the need for the corset. Bathroom breaks took her 20 minutes.
Sounds like she needs to eat more apples.
Or, it sounds like that, like, society could just stop expecting, like, women to conform to unrealistic expectations.
You didn't get my apples joke.
No,
Never mind.
I didn't get it
I'll
either.
tell you.
I chose to ignore it.
It's a digestive joke. Never mind.
I definitely chose to ignore it. But yeah, like hearing all that makes me think, like, excuse the stuff we go through, like the stuff we go through to have to, like, impress the patriarchy is absurd. Like, that sounds nothing but uncomfortable.
Yeah. No argument here.
Her new outfit is pretty dope.
But that's why, like, I tend not to be, like, that's why I tend to get annoyed with, like, the expectations or gender norms that are placed on women sometimes. Because I feel like, look, these Spanx are uncomfortable. Why do I have to wear wires in front of my chest? And why do I have to, like, go to certain places in a dress? Like, can I just, like, be comfortable for 40 seconds of my life, please?
That's what she wears now.
And you know what? Is all because the person that's designing it for you doesn't even have the equipment that they're designing it for.
You mean, in other words, men are designing it?
Exactly.
Well, men are designing it based on what they want to see without consideration to, like,
I would
our
venture to
comfort
say
level.
that women are also designing it based upon what men want to see.
Well, yeah, because women, like, because most women know they have to play the game to get ahead.
Mm.
I
Good
mean,
point.
I know you have to play the game to get ahead. I just don't give a crap.
And they wear heels in space now?
I haven't been in a minute, so I don't know.
Oh, you haven't been to space recently?
Not in a minute. It's been a minute.
I noticed
I
she
mean-
has heels on in her costume.
I mean, I don't know. I don't wear heels on Earth, so I definitely don't wear heels in space. On my occasional excursions there.
I would think they might get stuck in a planet.
Like I said, if my footprints ever go in the moon, it's not going to be from stiletto heels. It's going to have the Jordans imprint on them. Most girls collect stiletto heels. I collect shoes, but I collect Jordans.
Wise girl.
Like, why am I going to walk around in stuff that's not comfortable? Give me a break. Like, I'd rather keep my like 40 pairs of Jordans.
You got more than me.
Oh, I got a lot. All different colors too. And they don't require massive costume maneuvering.
Right.
Did we lose them?
Oh, I don't know. Flavius.
Anybody
I'm here.
home? Oh, we thought we lost you. I thought I misplaced you or something.
No, I'm here. I don't know where Flav is.
Maybe he got up to answer the door or something. Maybe he ordered something. Although it's kind of too early for dinner in my book, but
I wonder if he's meditating.
maybe he's sleeping. Because that's what he's really doing when he's meditating, is sleeping.
All these years, he still meditates, huh?
Is he falling asleep? We can't see him, so we can't tell if he's falling asleep on the keyboard or not. Oh man, now I feel like I'm teaching my class. Like, I'm literally the only person here who's not in ghost mode.
Just a second. Just a second, people.
And I was
Okay,
the one ranting about my bad hair day.
So is Flav still listed as on?
Yes.
Yeah, he probably fell asleep. Or maybe he went to go do some bathroom stuff or pick up a shake from the restaurant that he orders shakes and carrot juice from, and kale shakes and all of that.
He
all of
loves
that
that
vegan
place, huh?
craziness.
All that vegan craziness that, like, us carnivores can't understand.
So you know what I'd like for you to do, Emily?
What?
I'd like for you to go to a comic book store or a bookstore
And
and I'd like you to ask them if they have Monstrous Volume 1,
Okay.
the trade paperback, and if they do, I'd like you to purchase it from them.
Okay.
You can probably sign it up for your library. Volume 1 is like $9.99,
Okay.
and then I'd like you to read it.
Okay.
And then you're going to get back to me and tell me how much you love me for recommending it for you, and then you want to get the rest of them.
Well, we'll see if the comic book store is actually open. Half the stores around here aren't even open right now.
Well, every comic book store will have the Monstrous trade paperback because it's just that popular.
Well, yeah.
Even some bookstores will have it. I'm sure you can sign it up from the library, but bookstores certainly have it as well.
Well, yeah, that's true. And the library is actually reopening, so.
I just, I don't support local libraries.
Why? What's wrong with the library?
I think they are secret. They're secretly up, like they're like Wayfair. They're secretly in the human trafficking department.
Well, so is TikTok, and that ends up Stop Cynthia.
TikTok traffics humans?
I mean, I don't know about, you're right. I don't know about trafficking humans, but they're in.
Wayfair does.
But there's shady shit with TikTok though too. I was reading something somewhere about how like the Chinese are using TikTok to spy on us.
Because they can't use Facebook?
I guess so. I don't know because they can't. Yeah, I guess they can't use Facebook.
Well, why can't they?
I think Facebook might actually be banned in China because it's too encrypted. I feel like I read that somewhere.
Encrypted. All you have to do is go to people's front pages.
Yeah, no, but I mean like if Facebook is banned in China, then they can't even get on the Facebook site to go to people's pages unless they're on a proxy server.
I'm sure it's banned to the little guy.
Yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying. That it's not banned probably for like high-ranking government officials in China who do seem to want to spy on people. But I think the reason why people are saying it's TikTok that's the one you have to be wary of is because I think TikTok was actually developed in China as opposed to like Facebook being American. But quite frankly, I don't know what the heck they're seeing on TikTok if they're really using it to spy on it. They're just seeing a bunch of teenagers dancing around like a bunch of fools.
Yeah, what is TikTok?
It's basically
the app that they dance on.
They
make like little snippets of dances.
Or like you remember like a few years back when there was, what was that app called? When there was Vine, where you could make like 6-second videos. It is?
Mm-hmm.
I haven't used it in forever, but at any rate, like it's kind of like that. Like you make short videos of yourself, like the kind you would post on Instagram.
Flav.
Yeah.
Did you stop meditating?
I wasn't meditating.
You were doing some form of meditating.
No, I went to the bathroom.
That's
I don't know if I'd call
Well,
that's what I was getting at.
I only call that meditating if it's number 2.
Oh, well, that's too much information now.
Well, that was a long number 1.
Yeah, right.
I mean, it really wasn't. I had to go to the bathroom. I had to like.
We don't need to know the
wash
details.
My hands, like.
It was long.
Oh well, I did grab something from the kitchen too. But.
Okay. Oh, see, there you go. It wasn't just going to the bathroom.
I guess if you're clocking me like that, maybe it was long, but I think it's all relative.
That's convenient. It was long to us.
It was long to you, yes.
I was gonna say you got 5 minutes. Then we're all gonna come back together and discuss as a group, guys.
We thought you were sleeping.
Yeah, well, that was mistake
That's
number 1.
how long it was.
That was mistake number 1.
That's how long it was. Okay, so what are your preferential discriminations there? How do you discriminate by preference there, Flav?
I like women That's my first discrimination. I mean, generally, I like them to be in my same decade. Wait, no, wait, I like them to be probably like within 10 years of where I am. That probably makes sense for me.
Either way?
That's a good question.
So what you're saying is that Cynthia's too young for you and I'm not?
I guess. I mean, well, no, I said I'm not like, how old is Cynthia?
30.
Did we strike a chord here?
30. I mean, I think in general, 10 years is good. But I'm not like a very strict person for the most part, but I think 10 years makes sense.
Are you saying you'd make an exception in Cynthia's case?
I didn't say all that. Let's see what else.
Cynthia, sorry. I'm sorry.
10 years the other way, 52. That could be pushing it. And then what else? I mean, intelligence is
52
good.
52 could be pushing it?
Yeah. Well, you said
even
10
if it was
years,
just like strictly sex?
Well, if it's a cougar, depends.
Is that what we're talking about?
No, I'm asking.
I mean, I guess it depends on the person, right? Like some people rock 52 well, and some people, don't.
Some people rock 20 well, and some people don't. But yeah, it's a fair answer. I get what you're saying.
Intelligence does help. I do like people that I can converse with. Humor also helps.
How about politics?
Politics, that's an interesting one. I mean, for the most part, like I can get along with different people, but if someone's politics is like polar opposite mine, it could be kind of rough. I mean, I can get along with libertarians. I know people who can't, but I can get along with libertarians. I find them to be at least like smart, and at least if I disagree with them, I find like they try to do it based on facts and not like hyperbole and a bunch of nonsense. They don't like have to make up crazy shit that's like not even true, and like they don't have to go ham on like their I feel like they're I can tolerate them.
Even with libertarians, though, I feel like there's like multiple different, I guess, there's multiple different kinds of libertarians, because I feel like there's like some libertarians who are more towards the left who just don't like government interference and stupid shit. And then there's libertarians who don't like government interference in any kind of economics.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely different ones. And what else? I mean, in general, I mean, I kind of like people who are chill, who are like cool people. I'm not like, if I don't want to be turned up on, I don't really like people who kind of like push the issue. You know what I mean? That's it. That's generally it.
Okay.
And I do, I do appreciate thickness as well. I mean, some people don't, but yeah.
Disclaimer: calling all BBWs out there. You're single.
BBW, huh?
What does that stand for?
That term was introduced here on the show. It's not a new term, but it is
big,
broken ground.
Beautiful
big,
women,
beautiful right? Women.
Okay.
It means women who are a little bit larger than the average population.
Yeah, I don't know how strict that term is. Like, I don't know.
Regular women.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
What are we doing here?
Being misogynist, apparently.
See, is that misogynist?
Is that?
I mean, here's the thing: you you're asking me these questions, and I'm not going to give you the same answer that most women would. Because quite frankly, like, it doesn't bother me, but a lot of things don't bother me that bother other people. That's why I always laugh when you're like, am I crossing a boundary? Because I'm like, you got to do something really bad to cross a boundary with me. Like, if you told me you killed someone and hid the body underneath, like, the Brooklyn Bridge, then I might be mad at you. But other than that,
I was very
not going to be offended.
Emily.
Yeah, that was oddly specific. Like, what about the Verrazano? Is that like, if it's Staten Island, it doesn't really count, or what's
The only good things to come out of Staten Island are the Wu-Tang Clan and the Impractical Jokers. And maybe Pete Davidson.
I'd have to agree.
Well, they got a good Sri Lankan restaurant over there too.
So I have a friend of mine that I know to be conservative who's asking me on Messenger why I asked my white liberal friends the question that I asked today.
Oh, that question?
What question?
Why should you vote? Why should you as a black person vote for Biden? Like, what benefit does Biden give to the black community? That was the question.
Without mentioning the word Trump.
Without mention.
What benefit would Biden give to the black community without mentioning the word Trump?
Yeah.
You can't do it without mentioning Trump.
It is hard to do.
Yeah, it's true.
It can be done.
You can mention the white. You can say 45. You can mention the White House.
No, I said or the current administration.
Oh, or the current administration.
So what that means is like you can't really answer that question without like bringing the current administration into it somehow. Because
I think we can. I think the responsibility that we have on some level is to address why we think we can't. You know, I've done this before, right? Some years ago, I asked my liberal friends and conservative friends in a different post, but the same question. I pretty much asked liberals, how do we critique ourselves, or what are some things that we need to do to change as liberals? And can you give me an answer without mentioning the word conservative or Republican? And that experiment was a failure because nobody could. Actually, people got on there and argued, and it was vitriol. Like total strangers that were friends of mine were like, I'll meet you on this corner and we'll fight.
Wait a minute. I remember that.
Jesus
Wait a minute.
Christ.
Wait, what was the question?
You were inciting a riot?
No, Mike, you remember? Yeah, I know you remember.
I do. What was the question?
I asked liberals if they could give critiques of themselves or tell me something about themselves that we need to change, and if they could do it without mentioning the word conservative or Republican.
Oh, right.
And no one could do it.
So
like,
when you
people
said
were giving
meet me on the
brilliant
corner,
answers. I didn't say that.
No. When you said someone said meet me on the corner at such
they
and
were
such,
like,
it just reminds me how you said
planning
people
to fight each other.
Yeah. How people turn up on social media.
And in the meantime, what's interesting, Emily, is that I got brilliant answers, but none of the answers were answering the question I was asking. I mean, brilliant answers as to why conservatives are this and why it's not beneficial for anybody to be, all of that. Brilliant, well thought out answers, but not one answer. One of my friends actually came on, and her response to after reading the entire thread, because she told me later, she was like, Ish, I was just so disappointed. Her literal response was just, ugh. Because for every conservative reading that thread, liberals just looked bad. But the same thing happened in the conservative thread where I asked the same question.
I mean, I think the problem is that like I'll say it's extremely hard to like think about like it's extremely hard to not compare, I guess, like what Biden is with what we would get if we reelected this monster if we reelected Lord Voldemort into office.
Now,
Yes,
if I
you
just
could
put it in
mention-
terms of liberals and conservatives, I think that it's extremely difficult for people to critique themselves.
Yeah. And I was also going to say, you could mention Supreme Court. You could mention Supreme Court nominees.
Yeah, but that brings it back to the current administration.
Is that what? Well, it's a different. Okay. All right. So even though it's a different branch, it's
yeah, but the point is, I think, is that it's very hard to like. It's very hard to say what the benefits are.
Well, I'm sorry,
without mentioning something that
would
go badly.
You could say climate change.
If you notice, someone in the thread came out the first comment and actually said what you're saying, and then reinforced it with that's probably the only reason. And I thanked her for her honesty, because if you notice, my question was loaded. And my question was based on this idea that there are people who are not Black, that are liberals, that are impressing upon me why I need to vote for Biden, but not giving me any substantial reason as to why.
Other than that he's not Trump.
Right. So I wanted it to be a very specific question. How does it benefit the Black community? Because stop pretending. Just be honest. Like, stop pretending, right? Like, stop pretending that we're so much these social justice warriors that we're really concerned about these things, when the reality is we are choosing to be hypocrite. Our integrity is compromised. At the very least, question it.
I mean, here's the thing is, like, you very well know that I have no love towards Biden, never have. Like, in fact, like, I mean, I was the one saying in the past and being kind of afraid to bring it up because I didn't know if I had the right to bring it up, but I don't understand why Black people would vote for Biden. Like, I don't like with the issue of mass incarceration.
Well, you know why I'm voting for him.
Because, like, you got to vote, like, you know, to get rid of the fascist state that we're in right now.
Because women, immigrants, people that I consider to be my allies are suffering under Donald Trump.
Well, yeah. Isn't that kind of like, I mean, I don't know if it came across that way, but, like, that's kind of like what I was saying about, like, the immigrants and the whole situation with COVID-19, which you can't deny that, like, that Biden would have handled, that Biden or Hillary, if she had won 4 years ago, like, if Hillary were in office, we would not be in quarantine. I could guarantee you that, probably.
I'd rather people just say to me, you know what, Ish, I also don't see how a Biden vote would be beneficial for the Black community. However, because I know all the other reasons why I'm gonna vote for him, and I've had people change my words or not even listen to my words. Like, I was talking with someone in that thread who, somehow concluded that I thought a Trump presidency would be better.
Yeah, those conclusions piss me off.
I didn't suggest that.
Yeah, those conclusions piss me off.
Yeah, you never said that.
The person who responded to me again about how their response was hyperbolic, and I thought about responding, and then I just didn't, because I just feel like if you don't know, then what am I really going to say that's going to, make you really double think that? And so I was trying to Google what has Biden done for, that's a Freudian, excuse the Freudian slip there. What has Biden done for black people, and nothing came up except what he hasn't done for black people, or the whole comment he made to Charlemagne. So I couldn't find anything positive. So instead, I Googled what Obama did for black people, and then I wondered, does that, can you use a VP? Can you use someone else in someone's administration as an example of what was done? And I figured it might depend on who you're talking to. Some people might let you do that, and some people might just quickly dismiss it and say no. That person.
Well, we'll concede that what Obama did for black people is what got Biden where he is now.
Yeah, because Obama basically provided the vetting of him for the community.
Yeah, but that wasn't the point that I was trying to make. I mean, for someone who, yeah. But just so, I mean, Emily knows, for like speaking to someone online who won't even concede that Biden has done anything for black people, do I then go use my time and click a link that shows like all the things that Obama did for black people? Like, is that worth?
Well, that wouldn't have been
No.
that might have been for other people, that might have been acceptable. Dre Day is smart, so she definitely would have countered that.
But you don't think a smart person can concede that like you play a part in the administration that you're in? Like, are we really going to say that Obama alone did this whole laundry list of things that he did for black people, and we're not going to give any credit to the VP?
Well, what I'm saying is that's why I said that would work for some people, and I don't even mean stupid people. So I shouldn't have prefaced that she's smart. What I'm saying is she's smart enough.
Sorry to interrupt, but I gotta run.
Oh, okay.
If you guys want to keep going, I'll make you the host.
Sure.
Actually, I actually gotta get ready to run too.
Oh, okay.
So then we could just finish it up.
Yeah, I'll just say really quick, if she's smart enough that she can concede it and then counter it, and then you guys would continue. You guys would still be engaging, which might have been a good thing.
Right.
On that note, I'm gonna push end.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna end as well, and I'll probably look to get back on later on, Flav. I want to get ready for my pay-per-view.
Pay-per-view?
Yeah.
Yeah, and baseball is coming on in 15 minutes. I'm going to be otherwise occupied.
The middle row.
Guys, be safe.
Okay. All right, man. Thanks everybody for showing up. What are you talking about? Wrestling or something?
Yes.
What, WCW? Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
WWF.
Oh, okay.
And
All right. All right.
And I got to go watch the Yankees and the Mets.
Oh, okay. Good luck.